Let's talk to Dr. Holly Powell-Jones, who's a founder of the Online Media Law UK and also a lecturer in social media law at City University. Hi, Holly.
Hi there.
Hello. Right, we've got this petition for what they're calling Caroline's Law, and they're saying things like, I've got the words from it here, these laws should be put in place to prevent the newspapers, magazines and all forms of media and paparazzi from releasing information that there's no evidence for and is therefore false, printing source quotes from anyone or an unreliable source, invading privacy and sharing private information that's detrimental to the celebrity, their mental health and those around them. Paparazzi taking and printing images without permission. It goes on and it goes on. And I just wondered if we could look into that and see how many of those things would actually be practical and where we stand with this now.
Well, I think, first of all, we have to sort of ask ourselves, well, how many of those things are prohibited by law already? So I teach media law and ethics to trainee journalists, and I also teach social media law and ethics in secondary schools.
Right.
And what I know, and a lot of the people who've been on my courses know, is that we have heaps and heaps of laws and legislation to prohibit things like abusive communications. You know, we've got the Protection from Harassment Act, the Malicious Communications Act, and various other things. We've also got civil laws as well, so things like defamation. You know, we've got privacy laws and copyright laws. I think, honestly, the biggest issue here is that actually awareness, making sure that people are aware of their laws and what their legal rights are, and also enforcement of these laws as well. A lot of the discussions that we're having now also happen around the time of this thing called the Leveson inquiry, right, into press and media ethics a few years ago.
Phone tapping, was that? And all of that, that was in that whole arena, wasn't it?
It was, but broadly, the Leveson inquiry was supposed to be about press and media ethics. And I think now, obviously, we've moved further into the territory of social media. So ordinary users, not just journalists, being able to publish and distribute information that can be harmful and that can be false. And that's why, you know, I do what I do, because I think we all need education about what online media laws there are in the UK.
Absolutely, yes. One of the things on this petition, or maybe not so much on this petition, but the people are talking about is the law surrounding pending court cases, and the fact that she was identified, he was identified, we knew it was going to court. For those of us that don't understand what we can and can't say about that, can you explain?
Yeah, so actually, I was just on a different BBC site the other day talking about this. It's called contempt of court. We have actually got a lot of very strict rules and laws, as journalists, you'll know about this, about what we can and can't say, you know, if there's a live police investigation or in the run up to a trial, to make sure that we don't interfere with the process of justice. And, you know, I think one of the things that we need to start thinking about is making sure that people learn about these laws and these rules in school if they're going to be using social media, because at the moment it's only journalists who have training on this kind of thing and who might be aware of all the risks and the boundaries around what they can and can't say online. And it's really, really important, not just for, you know, potential offenders to be aware that, you know, they might be breaking a law when they post something, but also for victims as well. You know, I did research with teenagers, and a lot of them, you know, I worry that they wouldn't report being an abuse victim because they weren't actually clear what was a crime on social media and what wasn't.
And that's to defamation. Just to make it clear then for people that don't know, if a court case is pending, you can name the alleged victim and the alleged perpetrator, unless it's a crime of a sexual nature. So rape cases and things like that, you can't, and also underage children, you can't name them. But
yes.
you can just say, this is coming up. It's this person, this happened on this day, allegedly. And that's it. You can say it's coming up, but can't go into any detail or imply guilt.
Yeah, and I think what's really important to say here is that we do need to protect what's known as the open justice principle. So there's a reason why we have a public gallery in courtrooms, and that's because if you live in a society as a member of the public, you have a right to go and see how the justice system works and see justice being done. That's why we have open public spaces. Now, the media and journalists, often not many people go to court to sit in on trials these days, but media and journalists have that duty, that responsibility to report to the public what is going on with ongoing cases. And we do need to protect that right as well. I think if you think about a case where if you knew that there was someone who was later convicted of very serious criminal offences who lived in your area, you would probably argue, well, actually, I have a right to know about that, and I wanted to know about that. So that's the other side of the coin.
It's kind of, the CPS spokesperson, the guy who used to work for the CPS, which we heard from just then, said about the CPS's role. If they'd have gone ahead with it, they're criticised. If they'd have not gone ahead with it, they're criticised. And it's a bit the same in this sort of situation, isn't it? Damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Well, I'm not going to comment on Caroline Flack's case because I think that's something that really only the people who are involved in the case should be commenting on.
Sure.
But what I will say is that I think that it's weird that we live in a society where we don't learn at school in PSHE classes and citizenship classes about crime, the criminal justice system, law, policing and human rights. That needs to be on the curriculum. If we're going to live in society, we have to understand kind of how the criminal justice system works. A lot of people I speak to do not know about basic legal rights, if they're arrested, what they can and can't post about ongoing criminal cases. So I would love to see actually more engagement and awareness around media law online and on social media happening. And I think these petitions and discussions are really good because it shows that young people care about this kind of stuff. But we also need to start, before we can criticise and develop and reform law, we need to start by making sure everybody has education, awareness and understanding of what we've got already.
Particularly as everybody pretty much now is on social media, and it does apply to that, doesn't it? I think there's a perception that it doesn't, but it very clearly does. You can libel and defame someone in a newspaper, and you can do it on social media as well.
Absolutely. And I do training in schools with teenagers, and I use a lot of case studies of people who have been in trouble with the police, have been arrested and prosecuted for things they've posted on social media. It does happen. There are limits to freedom of expression. It's not a boundless right. And so that's kind of something that I'm really keen to keep doing, and I'm keen for more people to do, is to kind of highlight, actually, I'm not saying the law is perfect. It's absolutely not. I think we could all keep developing it and improving it as we go. But we've got to start by making people aware of what the line is between your freedom of expression and a criminal offence. And that kind of ties into this whole discussion about online abuse and where we're going to put those boundaries down. We have a lot of laws. Just legislating isn't the only answer. We obviously need to make sure that these are enforced and that the rules are upheld, because I think a lot of people, they see a lot of abuse online and they see a lot of horrible content. And I think that adds to the idea that maybe we don't have any laws about this kind of thing. They see people behaving really badly with impunity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have laws in place. And I actually think greater awareness would help victims as well to know what's a serious criminal offence and to know when they're entitled to report something to the police and get proper protection.
Thank you. That's Dr. Holly Powell-Jones, founder of Online Media Law UK, lecturer in social media law at City University. As she says, she works in schools. So there we go. We've got quite strict libel laws, privacy laws, intrusion laws in this country. Do we need more? And tragically, we are never going to know the full story behind, because only a person in that situation will know what is going on in